Hello! In the last tutorial video we went over form settings and how to create and edit them. Today we're going to talk a little bit about actually creating a basic form. So in the last video we created a form called customers, and when we're on our dashboard screen we can see direct links to add, list, or we can delete the whole form altogether. I wouldn't recommend that. In any case, today we're going to go ahead and add, and there's nothing here because we don't have any controls yet. So let's do so. Let's add some. To do so, we're going to go to this form, Add Controls. And from here, we can drag out one of our control boxes. So let's start with a text box. We'll call it First Name. And we'll add another one. And we'll call this one Last Name. And we'll just do two more. Phone and email. Okay. Now, we said before that our form is going to be 3 columns, and you can see here that we have 3 columns set up. ID is kind of taking up valuable space, so we're going to move it down, and we'll save changes. Now, there's still no customers, but when we click the Add New button, here's our form. We can set this up. Just give it some garbage and save. Now we can see our entry here. We can delete the entry, we can edit the entry. But what we didn't do was we didn't verify that this is a valid phone number. We can enter anything we wanted in here. And we didn't verify that this is a valid email. So it does allow it. But what if we didn't want it to? Now when we edited the form, we're still in the list view. We need to either get to add or edit mode to edit the controls that we're looking at. So now we can edit these controls. Let's click the pencil icon. And let's talk about these for a little bit. The first thing we want to know is there are field settings for the phone. This is global. This applies to both the add, the edit, and the list view. This is the name we gave it. We can change that. This is what SnappyForge calls it in the database. You don't really need to ever worry about that, but you could change it if you wanted to. The data type that we're collecting, and some other options that are going to be used later. If we didn't want this to show up in our list view, we can take it out. If we didn't want it to show up in an export to Excel, we can also take that out here too. Now, something that's interesting here is we have a call span. We can actually make phone take up more than one column. Now in this case you can go to 4 or 5, but it's not going to do anything. But you can set it to 1, 2, or 3. So we're going to set ours to 3. Some of this other stuff is kind of advanced as far as what CSS class and stuff. That's more for people who are going to style your form. But for now we're not going to get into that. Now we can see our phone takes up 3 columns. Something else we note, that's for phone's field settings global. But if we wanted to just control this particular add mode, we can change this to anything else we want. So for example, ID, you don't really need ID for add. We're going to change it to hidden. This only applies to add mode. It does not apply to edit mode or any other modes that you can add later. So if we just save that for now, and we come back in and we edit, we can see we still have our name. Our phone is taking up all 3 columns, email, and an ID of 1. But when we go to add new, ID is now hidden. It's missing. It's always going to be there. It's just hidden from view. So the next thing we're going to do is edit our controls again. Go back into our add mode We're going to click email. Let's look through some of these other control options. We don't really need that yet, but control validation. Let's add one here. First, we're going to make email required. When you add a validation rule, it's going to ask if you'd like to copy it to all other modes in this project. We're just going to say yes. So email will be required both in the add screen and the edit screen. And we're also going to make this actually an email, which means it's going to check. We're also going to copy that to the add and edit mode in this project. You can control validate per mode if you wish to, so you can just have things that are on the add screen but not on edit, and vice versa. That's it for now. Let's go back. Let's go add new. Let's try to save. Email is required. Must be a valid email. So now we're not going to check to make sure that this is actually a valid email, but at the very least, the user will have to enter something that resembles an email address. We can also check for phone numbers that are valid. We can check for lots of other things too. So we can go ahead and show you some of those, and you can look through these on your own time as well. But we're going to change phone to also be required. And we're also going to make phone check to make sure it is a valid phone number in the US. Lastly, I think we should change our form to be 2 columns. So we're going to edit form. We're going to go back from 3 columns down to 2 and click save. Always remember to click the save buttons on those little pop-outs. Now we go to add new. Now that looks a little bit better. First name, last name, phone, and email. Now we can always make changes on the fly. We can drag things around and move things however we like. If we go back, we can also see that all of our changes have applied to the edit as well. And that's it for basically creating simple forms.